What's going on, headbangers? On today's episode, I'm spinning the wax with James McBain of Hellripper, and we're going to be listening to Beastmilk's Climax. Don't go anywhere, it all starts right now. Well, hello there. It's nice to see you, and seeing you is nice. It's your friendly neighborhood headbanger back for another episode of Spinning the Wax. My name is John Garcia, aka Stay Puffed, the Metal Marshmallow, and today we are listening to Beastmilk's Climax with Hellripper's James McBain. James is a fantastic Scottish bloke who masterminds Hellripper's one-man blackened speed metal sound for fans of Midnight, Toxic Holocaust, Bathory, Bewitcher, if you aren't already familiar with them. Although I have a feeling that if you found your way to this channel, you know Hellripper quite well. He brings on the only album by Finland's Beastmilk before they had a massive lineup change and then permanently changed their name to Grave Pleasures. Climax is a treasure trove of goth rock, post-punk, and sardonic Cold War-themed lyrics and will be stuck in your head weeks after you've listened to this one. James and I discuss how this album influenced his nascent songwriting when he was still learning how to become the musician he wanted to be, as well as how listening to non-metal music really helps him learn new ways to write a song and keep Hellripper's sound fresh. We also dive into spending almost 6 weeks on the road with black metal legend Abbath, how Atlanta's Cloak are one of his favorite new bands at the current moment, and he also gives some amazing advice to solo musicians looking to launch their own project. Listen to him, everybody. He has a degree in business, after all. Please welcome to the show from Aberdeen, Scotland, from Hellripper, and super nice dude. Kicks all sorts of ass and can play the guitar like a son of a bitch. Please welcome James McBain to the show. James, it's so good to chat with you again. Thanks for hopping on, dude.
Nice to see you again, man. And wow, what an intro.
Yeah, I try
Thank
to
you
do what
so
I
much.
can. I want people to be excited to come on here, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm excited to, chat for a bit again. It's been a while since we last spoke.
It has. It was
I
when the album came out, when Warlock's
yeah,
Grim came out.
yeah, so probably almost 2 years now or something. Well, getting there. And yeah, it's cool. I'm excited to listen to an album, one of my favorites that I haven't listened to in a little while actually. And yeah, just chat some shit, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and I'm really, really itching to get into the choice. But before we do that, I know that you have been a busy little bee going crazy all over Europe through the summer. Hellripper has been on tour. I've lost track of all the places that you've been, as I'm sure you have too.
Absolutely.
What
Yeah.
have you been up to, man? Like, I know you have like all sorts of like clubs and festival dates and everything like that, but like, this is now starting to chill out now as we're recording. The summer is in its death knell a little bit, and you can feel the first little whispers of autumn on the air. So like, as you're starting to kind of reflect on your summer, like, how's it been, man? What's been going on?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this year, I mean, since the album came out, since we spoke, basically, things have been kind of all go really on the live front, which has been fun. We've been doing a lot of shows, visiting a lot of new places. We've played with some of my favorite bands, and we started this year with a 5, 6 week tour with Abbath and Toxic Holocaust around Europe, which was, amazing. That was really good, and we had a small break after that, and then into summer, we did a whole bunch of, again, it was like how long? 5, 6 weeks again in summer, playing a mixture of club shows and like festivals and stuff. We played a few, like we played Bloodstock in the UK, Vakin, Brutal Assault.
That's so
Um,
fucking cool, man. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy
yeah,
for you guys, dude.
yeah. Thank you very much, man. Yeah, it's been a good summer. It's been a busy summer, but really cool getting out there, spreading the word of the goat cult. And yeah, we just returned a couple of weeks ago from the main bulk of dates, the 5, 6 week bulk of dates, and now we're kind of most weekends now until the end of the year. We're still doing shows. Like we're heading to Mexico in a couple
Oh, really?
days. Yeah, as part of Candelabrum Fest with bands like Exodus and Terrorizer and stuff. And
Yeah.
of course, it's our first time out of Europe, first time in Mexico. Everyone's, everything I've heard about the Mexican audience and in Mexican shows and stuff has been very positive, and
Yeah, dude.
I'm very much looking forward to it, man. And yeah, like I say, it's all go. It's all go. And
Yeah.
in between, I released a new single and edited a little kind of music video from like tour clips and stuff, and writing the new album. So it's if it's not one thing, it's something else, you
Of
know?
course. The goat is all go right now, it seems like.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, the
Yeah,
go-go's.
no, I know that the Mexican audiences are gonna love you. I mean, Mexico obviously isn't South America; it's Central America. But you know, once you get south of the border in the U.S. and even further on down into South America, just
Mhm.
the insanity levels of the fans down there
Yeah,
really rise. I'm gonna be really excited to hear your take on that, especially like I know
yeah.
this is Hellripper's first time out of Europe, but like, have you traveled to Mexico or North America before?
No, for the most part, all my traveling has been done as part of Hellripper, you know. I've
Yeah.
been to a few places, like a few vacations and stuff throughout Europe, and but yeah, no, I haven't been outside of like Europe really, like the continent. Yeah, I'm excited, and yeah, I don't know if you saw we've announced that we'll be doing Hell's Heroes next year, which is
Oh, fuck yeah. Okay, well
of
then I
course our
guess I have to go.
first time in the US, which is exciting. You know, it's been in the works for a while, try to get over there eventually, and it's finally happening. So I'm looking forward to see some of the American fans.
Yeah, I've been trying to go to that festival for the past like 3 years and it just like hasn't worked out, whether like scheduling, finances, you know, flights, whatever else is gonna go.
Yeah, man. They just announced the full thing. I believe it's Abbath is headlining.
That's fucking awesome, dude. I got to see Abbath play in Norway. I was in there in June
Oh,
and he
nice.
was playing at Tons of Rock. Bro, it sounded great. Like I'm really, really fucking happy he's doing so well. But
Yeah,
the band sounded so good, and of course, you know, as yeah, you can tell me how you feel about this, man, because as cult and as like dark and demonic and as evil as black metal is supposed to be, that man is just fucking goofy and it's so great. It's just so incredible to see him just like wandering around on stage, like making all these faces and just like very much enjoying himself, which is kind of the antithesis, I feel, of most other black metal bands.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, like I say, we spent about 5, 6 weeks with them, and you know, it was our first really big tour, so I had no idea, you know, what to expect, you know, whether how you're going to be treated and stuff. You know, you hear these stories about the first support band, especially, like they get treated badly or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, we turned up and we were immediately welcomed by the crew, by the bands, all the guys in the bands, Abbath as well, and like they're all really nice, you know, amazing people. We had a great time, and yeah, I mean, I love the rock and roll aspect to Abbath's music. You know,
Same.
it's what appeals to me because obviously I'm more of a thrash, black speed. I mean, you Hellripper's music, you know,
Yeah,
black and
you like
roll,
the rhythm
whatever.
and the groove and stuff like
Yeah,
that in your music.
exactly. So that's what kind of appeals to me more about like Abbath's style, and his attitude and stuff. Obviously, he's in the Motorhead tribute band Bombers, which is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, the whole the whole crew, really cool people, and yeah, we seem to be getting on, you know, just encountering them by chance at loads of different shows now. We playing different festivals, and yeah, it'll be cool to see him again for like the 35th time in a year.
Yeah, you're old friends now. You went from strangers to just like family members now.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. I mean, yeah, there was like, I mean, I didn't really speak to Abbath himself much, you know. I kind of everyone gets on with their own thing, but
Sure.
yeah, but there was a point where, you know, my I got a little bit ill and my voice was kind of having issues, and you know, he was coming in and checking up on me and stuff. He was like recommending me stuff to, you know, different like stuff to take to help it and stuff like that. And you know, so it was really cool.
I
You
love
know,
that.
he doesn't need to care. He had no obligation or no interest in how I was doing. But yeah, it was cool, and
I love that. Papa Abbath taking care of everyone on tour. That's amazing. From humble beginnings in that little room to where you
Yeah,
are now, which I'm sure that we'll talk about. But hey, let's get into what we're here to do today, which is to listen to music. And you are bringing before us this mighty album by a band called Beastmilk, who split up in 2015, but
mm,
now are basically Grave Pleasures, who some people may or may not know. And if you don't know, get them in their ears because they're really good. But this is, I would say that this is probably a cult classic of an album, Climax, which really helped get this like kind of post-punky gothic sound of this band out into the world and started the ball down the hill for Grave Pleasures.
yeah.
Why, James, do you love this album so much, and why bring it on the show today?
I just think it's a near perfect album, man.
Yeah.
I love the style. It's so unique. You know, the whole production drenched in reverb, the kind of Cold War kind of theme. The songwriting is just amazing. You know, everything is catchy. Like the
Hmm.
verses are catchy, the riffs are catchy, the pre-chorus, the chorus, everything is so good about it. The vocals are great. And it came at a time, you know, when I mean, I might be wrong because I wasn't, you know, in necessarily that scene, but it seemed to me that like around that time there was this kind of movement going on where there was some sort of gothic post-punk influence in the metal scene. You know, bands like yeah, Beastmilk and Tribulation kind of at the same time adopted the kind of goth
Yeah.
influence, and In Solitude as well kind of went that direction.
Mm.
Bands like Ketzer kind of took influence from that as well, and of course myself, it was a big inspiration for me both in terms of like a couple of other bands that I had, you know, and it's certainly for the newer Hellripper material, it's kind of influenced in that way. We're trying to bring a bit of atmosphere, bring a bit of something different into the sound, and yeah, just coming back to it's a killer album. That's why I chose it. It's one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, it's a loaded question because it's like, why did you bring this on? It's like, well, because it's fucking good, duh. Like, we're not gonna bring on a shitty, or I don't know, maybe someone will, and they'll torture us while we're doing it. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned the atmosphere, like the production on this album is really good, like the shimmering in the guitars and the way
Mm,
that it sounds like it could be, out of both an '80s and a '50s like drive-in like skating rink or something like
yeah.
that, but like a little bit more nefarious. And like you mentioned that that goth tinged post-punk edge to it. I wasn't really paying attention to metal at this time. It was kind of towards the end of the decade that I really started to kind of come around to bands that I hadn't originally like paid attention to before or anything like that. And especially now, like you mentioned Tribulation, you mentioned In Solitude, but nowadays, we've got bands like Unto Others, like
Hmm.
like Hoaxed, like Dull from the Netherlands, all of these kinds that have this kind of one foot on in this like Venn diagram of genres and stuff like that, but the
Hmm.
rest of them are all over the place to where there is like a one little bit that brings all these bands together that would make them on a great lineup or show together, but yet when you really get down to brass tacks, they're completely different bands, and
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really sounds like Beast Milk here, like,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even with Grave Pleasures, which I love, I mean, those Grave Pleasures albums are also some of my favorites.
Yeah.
But the Beast Milk album just has something unique, um, as does all their stuff. Like, I mean, I like the EP, the previous EP, and the demo they put out as well. But I think it's the production of Climax. I think it's Kurt Ballou
It
did
is
the
Kurt Ballou. Yes,
production.
yes.
Yeah, I've never heard an album sound like that. If
Mm.
people have, please let me know.
Yeah, just like I want to get them in my ears right
Yeah.
now. I also think it's important to note that this is so the singer in this, Mac McNerney, is also in the black metal band Hex Vessel. If
Mm.
anybody is familiar with them, and a bunch of other stuff. Just very talented
Yeah,
musician, very
man.
talented dude. I'm sure I'll tell you about Hex Vessel. Did two sets at Roadburn this year. They did Polar
Yeah.
Vortex in full, and then they did some like fucking like almost Wardruna like folk ensemble that they did.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I'll probably talk
yeah.
about it a little bit later, but it was fucking great. And just to see the range in this dude from Hex
Hmm.
Vessel to that to Grave Pleasures and Beastmilk,
Yeah.
it's just incredible. It's like really really talented dude.
Yeah, I mean, I was debating whether to choose this Beastmilk album or another of my favorite is Resplendent Grotesque by Code,
Mm.
which is, I, I believe his band. I think he did it before Beastmilk. It was the mid 2000s. I mean, the first album's a bit is black metal, but the one I'm speaking about is a bit more. It's like kind of a bit proggy, but accessible sounding, and it's very, it's like clean vocals on choruses and yeah, it's a weird album, but amazing again, like really catchy, really dissonant, but melodic and accessible again. Like yeah, so that I was gonna choose that one, but I thought, yeah, we'll go with Beast Milk. It probably edges that out as well. And you mentioned Hex Vessel. I mean, I'm a big fan of them as well. I mean, especially I think it's When We Are Death, something like that, where it's a bit more psychedelic 60s Hammond organ,
Yeah, all of their albums are different.
weird.
Like they've got like folk inspired albums in there too,
Yeah.
like earlier on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like Dawn Bearer and stuff like that are more
Yeah.
acousticy, weird ritual.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to get into this. So, like we were talking before recording, Death Reflexus and Genocidal Crush come up on my playlist all the fucking
Yes,
time.
man.
But I haven't listened to this one in full. The very first time I listened to this, actually, I'll have to give a shout out to Notfest colleague and Hellbent for Metal co-host Matt Rushton. I was on stream on Twitch, and he was like, "Yo, have you heard this before?" And I was like, "No." And he and his co-host Tom Dare from Hellbent for Metal, we're going to talk about this on an episode. So he's like, "Hey, we're not doing anything. Let's listen to this." And we listened to it live. And holy fuck, man. I was
Yeah.
like, from there, I was like, I have A, never heard anything like this. B, I didn't know that this was a thing. C, this is like exactly everything that I like in my music. And X, it's catchy as fuck. So
Yeah.
the ball started rolling from there. So shout out Hellbent for Metal. Go follow them wherever you get your podcasts. And James, are you ready to crack in to the Beast Milk, my friend?
I sure am.
All right, my friend. Without further ado, let's get into it. This is Climax by Beast Milk. This starts like it's just so bright and cheery,
Yeah.
and it's just the exact opposite of where this album is gonna go.
Yeah, it's such a good opener to an album. This was the first song I heard as well from the album. I believe I don't know if it was like an algorithmic thing, that it was recommended to me or not. I had just watched the film Control, the Joy Division,
Yeah,
the Ian Curtis thing.
yeah,
I'd
yeah,
watched that. It was on TV like that week, or like one or two nights before, and I was a fan of Joy Division and stuff, but I kind of that got me, into a Joy Division mood, like
yeah.
and listening to a bit more like post punk and all that kind of thing. And then on my Facebook, I believe it was NME, the magazine or the website, they were doing a what do you call it, an exclusive stream for the release of Climax, and it was like recommended to me.
Mhm.
And I liked the name of the band, I liked the look of the band photo, and I put it on. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And that was, I believe it was the NME, and yeah, this was the song that I heard first. Of course, it's the opening song, and
We have that in common then, because I know this was the first song that I heard because it was just like, just put on the album, hey, let's go. And yeah, the good ups to whoever was that PR person in
yeah,
2015 getting the SEO traffic and everything like that, and to bring in the fans of post punk and everything. Because I really, we've talked about this before. I'm a dyed in the wool heavy metal fan, Slayer,
hmm
Iron Maiden, Metallica. I never really had much of an experience or a time going down with, I listened to The Cure a little bit, but
hmm
never really Depeche Mode or Joy Division or Echo and the Bunnyman or anything like that. And I would say that this band and, Grave Pleasures really started opening up that kind of music for me. And I had a buddy actually make me a new wave, post-punk playlist
hmm
because he grew up around this time when all those those bands were, really popular and big. So it's got like, Susie and the Banshees on it and everything like that. And I
Yeah.
gotta tell you, big fan for that like atmospheric and just like wanting to dance and just kind
Oh
of
yeah.
take you away from something, but still have that kind of darkened, almost like cyberpunk edge to it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I mean, yeah, the song's great.
Yeah,
The
or
de
the wind blows
the
through
wind
their
blows.
skulls.
Yeah, I think the demo version is, I would say, equally as good. It's got a different kind of vibe, very lo-fi demo recording. I really like the demo. But yeah, I think, like you were saying, I think a lot of people kind of got turned on to post-punk or goth post-punk, whatever, in the metal scene by Beastmilk
Yeah.
and the likes. I think there's always one band that kind of creeps through. I guess it's similar to a band like Unto Others. Like they're doing the kind of goth thing, but
Mhm.
they appeal to the metal market, and then it just takes one band, and then you listen to like Unto Others, then people are going back and listening to whoever. Like people are going back to Sisters of Mercy or Susie or
Yeah.
uh, discovering stuff, because not everyone in the metal scene is well versed in like post punk and goth and stuff. And certainly for me, it got me to dig deeper. I knew the kind of your Joy Divisions, your Sisters of Mercy, and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
it got me to kind of delve into where they're where Beast Milk were coming from, like what other stuff there was like it. And like I say, I think it influenced a lot of bands as well. You're like again Unto Others or Final Gasp and stuff. I don't know if it's a direct influence, but there's a lot more of this kind of goth influence, even in bands like Devil Master or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bewitcher was another one. I actually
Yes,
have
Bewitcher's last album. Yeah.
Playlist that I call it gloom metal because like it's not
Mm.
really any type of genre, nor does it really exist. But it's kind of like I was telling you, all these bands that have a term I heard recently was one foot on this lily pad, right? Like they have the
Okay.
foot
Yeah.
on the goth lily pad, and then everything else goes from there. And I've talked to a couple of British bands about this who they were saying like, oh, like goth and post punk never really went over anywhere in England, but some of them said that they started to really start to notice it in like the 2010s. I fucking love this song,
Yeah.
Genocidal
This
Crush.
is
This is my
this
favorite
is the
song on the
best.
record, I
This is the
think.
best song on the album. This is my
Yeah,
favorite one. Yeah.
you mentioned Final Gasp, who are really cool. There's a new band, the Nightmares out of Wales, who have that kind of. They're
Okay.
not as heavy, but they're more like Interpol kind of
Oh,
influence. But
nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, but they have that very like dark gothic edge to them. And then there's another one from England called Naut, N-A-U-T,
Yeah, yeah.
that
We
are
played a show with them actually.
they're great.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, yeah. We played a show, and we've spoke with them a few times. We've met them at shows and festivals and stuff. Yeah, yeah. We played with them back in 2019. It was our last show before the pandemic. We played. It was us, not Orange Goblin, and Discharge.
Yeah, I saw Orange Goblin this summer. They're so
Yeah,
fucking good.
yeah. So that was a fun day. But yeah, not are really cool. This song's like one of the examples I would use that every part is catchy. You can sing the chorus, you can sing the verse, you can,
This guitar riff right there, the dee
yeah,
doo doo.
yeah,
And I lose my mind at the hand claps in the
yes.
chorus. It's just like
That's the best. I love the surf influence, like the drums, and I mean that comes up as well, and later on in Surf the Apocalypse, the "Let's Go Surfing Now" part. But yeah, I think yeah, it's so good. It's like it's one of these songs where any part could be the chorus. The pre-chorus is just as catchy. The shock takes hold, that part. Yeah, it's amazing.
And this
But
band also does something in me that a lot of my favorite heavy metal bands did, which is the reason why I got in, which is you just get that feeling in you that makes you feel like you want to like go Looney Tunes and turn into a rocket ship and just like
mm,
blast off into space and stuff like
yeah,
that. And I think one of the things about this band, and in fact, I'm realizing now that considering when I heard this, which is mid pandemic, so almost fucking like 4.5 years ago, Jesus Christ. But it really kind of awakened, like here, I wanna crush you, do.
Yeah.
Music that makes me want to kind of like dance and jam and shake my ass a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just because of like being a heavy metal kid and having like peer pressure and shit like that. I feel like sometimes, especially growing up as metalheads and wanting to be cool and look cool for like the bigger
Yeah.
kids and shit like that, you don't allow yourself to have as much fun or dance or shake your booty or whatever. And this is just kind of like, no, fuck all that stuff. Have fun, enjoy your life. You could do it here.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it might be different because since I grew up in the UK, I I grew up in the UK around the time that like the indie scene was kind of booming,
Yeah.
so I kind of got into music with a lot of the bands like Arctic Monkeys, Editors, that kind of stuff. Even, yeah, like you mentioned, Interpol,
Mm.
the Strokes. I mean, they're US based, but a band like the Editors, for example, are one of my favorites of all time. And you could draw a comparison between a band like Beastmilk and Editors. And it's just stuff that makes you want to dance. A lot of electronic stuff, which I don't think Beastmilk did. I think Grave Pleasures did a bit more electronic stuff on the last album.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, a lot of the UK stuff was kind of had a lot of electronic things in it, especially coming up to the 2010s. But yeah, it's just stuff that you want to dance, you want to. I mean, yeah, it's just so good. This song, this I actually I played one acoustic show, one solo acoustic show, like 10 years ago now or something, and I covered this song.
Oh yeah. Did
Yeah,
you
it was like,
learn it by ear?
um, yeah, but I mean, I think it's just, I mean, I don't know how correctly I played it. It was just like
Sure.
kind of, I think it's like two chords or something.
Yeah, I asked because I imagine there aren't a whole lot of Beast Milk.
Yeah,
You are now under our control acoustic
mm,
tabs going around the
yeah,
internet. We talk a lot on this show, since it's album focused, about sequencing and about flow and about
yeah,
sound and everything like that. And this is an album that does that to a T, to the point that you could loop this album and you
yeah,
would just have as much fun and maybe not even realize like, oh, we're at the beginning again, but who
yeah,
cares, because I'm just so invested in the music.
yeah, absolutely. Anytime I listen to this album, it's done before I know it. I've listened to the whole thing and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, that's it already. Let's go again. I like the 7-inch they did with Dead Enders and
I actually haven't listened to that one.
Cold War Funeral. That was just like a B-side. That's a really cool one. It's a bit more doomy and kind of depressing sounding, but that's a cool one, Cold War Funeral. Yeah, we're halfway through already. This is where it changes. It gets a
Yeah,
bit more slow.
it's like it's starting to invite you into the darkness a little bit more, whereas like if the
Yeah.
first couple of songs were you're in the basement club with the neon lights and stuff like this, now you're
Yeah.
getting dragged down into the catacombs and stuff like that
Mhm.
in there, where there's still dancers and neon lights and stuff like that, but it's even it's even doomier and darkier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, the cool thing about Beast Milk, I think they were one of those bands that you get a lot of them in the metal scene. It's these bands that are, usually wouldn't appeal or usually wouldn't get some exposure or whatever to metalheads, but they've got something about them that people latch onto. It's similar to a band. So you got like Beast Milk. I think their whole image, I think their background, being in black metal bands and stuff, helped. But like the image, the Cold War image, and the kind of metal influence there kind of brought them exposure into the metal scene, and people were like, I've never heard post punk before. What
Yeah.
is this? And it's similar to a band, like I guess like uh someone like Twin Temple. It's similar. They're like, it's not something that would appeal to the metal scene, but they've got like the themes and whatever, so they kind of get exposure in the metal scene. And
Yeah.
I try to think of other bands. I'm drawing a blank, but there's a lot of them.
I was thinking Amigo the Devil. Then those
Mm,
bands have toured together. He's just a fucking a
mm,
folk artist, right? Who just
yeah,
like plays these sad, murder folk style guitars, which are not
yeah,
all too different from the spirit of like Tom Waits or something like
mm,
that. But the way he does it, even if a metal fan isn't really into country or folk or that type of
yeah,
singer songwriter stuff, the darkness that he exudes and the
mm,
subject matter or it's just like, oh no, we could really get into this, which is, they're that's so important. Those bands that is like, oh well, metalheads are like can like us now, and I'm hoping. And again, I don't know how much it is because I'm in my 30s. I believe that you're in your 30s or close to your 30s now.
29, yeah,
Yeah,
almost.
so it's getting pretty close. So we're not 17 anymore. I have
Hmm.
no fucking idea how teenagers, consume their music. But I'm hoping that the age of streaming and stuff like that, having all these wildly different bands that still have hooks in their, in
Hmm.
other genres will be a gateway to help people explore other music in
Yeah.
any way, whether it's fucking jazz, classical, whatever. Not to say that there's anything wrong with really being into heavy metal as your main genre, but certainly the idea that I don't even think it's prevalent as much anymore. But it's like, oh well, if you listen to anything other than metal, you're not metal,
Yeah, yeah.
which is just a ridiculous assertion to begin with.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I listen to so much stuff that's not metal. And I think, like I say, I grew up with like, the indie scene in the UK and loads of pop music.
Hmm.
I mean, the Beatles and stuff like that, and Queen, whatever, stuff that my parents would listen to. And so catchy choruses and catchy songs have always appealed to me. So that's why a genre like like what I play, like black and roll, black speed metal, whatever you want to call it, a band like
Yeah.
Midnight. That's why a band like Midnight or something appeals to me because it's catchy, it's like hooks everywhere. A lot of people, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just different tastes for different people. Some people just want like extremity, like blasting with no, like just relentless, which is fine. I'm also sometimes in the mood for that as well.
Yeah,
But
of course.
I like to dance. I like to get into the music like that. And I think, yeah,
The Scots do like to have fun.
yeah, yeah,
No, but
absolutely.
to your point, you're talking about why a band like Midnight appeals to you. I could say, from the opposite, or from the outside perspective and everything like that, a band like Hellripper for me or someone else, it's all bands that you like in a sound separately together, I think is like one of the
Yeah,
reasons why it appeals to me, right? Because it's like you can have your Iron Maiden, your Motorhead, and your Venom and your Bathory all separately, and they're all great. But again, here is a band, Midnight, Hellripper, whatever, that takes those types of influences
yeah.
and put them together. There's a Belgian band, you probably have heard of them, called Butcher, who had an
Butch, yeah, man, yeah, yeah,
incredible album, 666 Goats Carried by Chariot, a couple of years ago. And
yeah.
that title track, which is like a 9-minute long song, it's
Yeah, it's
Judas
like
Priest, it's Bathory, it's Venom, it's Motorhead, it's Ozzy, it's like
King
all of
Diamond,
the
yeah,
King Diamond in all like one package, and you're like, how the fuck you could hear all of those records when you hear this one song, but yet it's like woven together
yeah,
in this unique way to where, like, yeah, you might have heard those quote unquote sounds before, but you never heard them stitched up in this way. And that's what I fucking love. And this is what, like, to get back to Beastmilk and stuff like that, stitching all those influences in a way that people haven't heard before, whether
yeah.
they, go together or like maybe not. Like a band like Zeal and Ardor, you would not have thought that
Mm,
those bands would go together, but it does.
yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree. And like, yeah, going to like combination, a lot of people like in the comments and stuff, of like Beast Milk videos, I know they say it's like they can hear like it's the mixture between the Smiths and the Misfits. Like it's got the
Yeah.
kind of punky. I mean, if you kind of took the production away, it could almost be a Misfits kind of song, I guess,
Hmm.
if you just made it like bare bones Misfits style production. Um, I mean, the Smiths, I don't really hear it. Um,
I can hear a little bit in the. So again,
it's
I'm not a massive Smiths fan,
mhm.
right? But like in just, I guess it's more like the atmosphere and attitude,
Yeah,
I suppose.
yeah. I think yeah, for me, I associate the Smiths with kind of like jangly guitar, and um, I think a lot of people kind of associate Matt's voice with it with Morrissey because it's similar-ish. But yeah, I would say, I mean, I can see where people are coming from, but yeah, I mean, I'm a big Smiths fan as well. But yeah, I think it's like I say, it's something unique that, especially at the time, that I don't think anyone was doing. And yeah, I wanted to, like you said, I wanted to see Beastmilk live, and they were on tour with In Solitude.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I can't remember what it was. I had work or I had school or something the next day. I can't remember. So I was like, I'll see them again. And they both broke up like immediately after that
It
tour.
was because of you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen Grave Pleasures 2 or 3 times and it's been amazing. Both amazing shows. But yeah, no In Solitude, unfortunately. A band that I think could have been massive.
Yeah, I didn't get into them until recently,
Hmm.
and yeah, there was it Sister, the
Mm.
the album of that one. Oh my
Sister,
fucking
yeah, yeah,
god.
man.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, there was that time, whatever year it was, but I kept always I heard about In Solitude because there was like online there was like these debates about the revival of like kind of like Merciful Fate tribute kind of bands,
Hmm.
and everyone was going on about Ghost, Portrait, and In Solitude,
Yeah.
and I knew I knew Ghost, of course. They were kind of like hyped at the time, like back in the day, and I was like, wow, I'll check out these other bands. And Portrait, I think they just put out an album relatively recently, actually, like
Yeah,
last
they
month.
they put one out, and I think that they're coming back with another one pretty soon. They were in my radar recently. I do
Yeah.
like new music streams every week, and they came up, but it's interesting you mentioned that kind of like revival, because certainly now Ghost are the band that
Oh,
everybody's like,
Green. Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
this band is trying to be Ghost. Like I know Greenlung has gotten that on their
mm,
new album, which I could see why, but
yeah, yeah,
also just like I don't think that they're trying to be Ghost. I think that they're just fucking Greenlung, and they have
yeah, man. They're
influences, that are the same. But there's a black metal band out of Atlanta called Cloak. You're wearing a Watain shirt,
we
they're
literally. I just changed out of my Cloak shirt before this interview.
oh,
We toured with Cloak like 3 weeks ago.
yeah, they're so. I
Yeah,
forgot about that. I did see that. I caught those dudes in Nashville when they came through, and I did a small interview for Knotfest. And Sean literally said that band Cloak would not be a band without Sister by In Solitude.
yeah. We spoke about that actually. We
Really?
on when we were speaking about In Solitude. We spoke about Beast Milk as well.
Yeah, because they're big into 80s heavy metal. Like they
Yes,
inspire, like
absolutely.
their songs, despite them being like, cult and necro and everything like that, their
Hmm.
songwriting is really inspired by just like rainbows rising and
Yeah,
shit like that,
yeah.
which is an excellent way to do that, because at the end of the day, right, you want to put out good songs. You want to write good songs, even if it's
Hmm.
not just like verse, chorus, verse, pop standard, whatever. You still
Yeah.
want to have something catchy and write good. And that was like really interesting to me that, they were just like, no, like, yeah, sure, we love Watain, we love fucking, all these other different black metal
Hmm.
bands, but this is where we get our actual like songwriting ideas
Hmm.
from.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to start, I mean, Cloak, I think, are one of the best bands right now. I absolutely love them. When did I discover them? It was probably their last album, actually. And it was one of my top 10 albums of the year. Like, I think they've got that thing I like about Watain, where it's just the riffs are, it's just one amazing riff after the other. It's just ridiculous. And I think, yeah, I think Cloak are one of my favorite like new recent whatever you want to call it bands, and again, yeah, really cool to tour with as well, which has always helped. Really cool people.
Yeah, go
But
listen
yeah,
to
we
Cloak, everybody. They got dealt a raw deal because their album, the previous album, their 2019 album, obviously came out like literally
mm,
like 4 months before the pandemic, so they didn't
yeah,
get to do shit with that one. And that record is fucking phenomenal. And then the one that you just mentioned it was also one of my favorite records of, I
yeah.
guess, 2 years last year. Jesus Christ, where's the
When
time
was
go?
it? Was it last year?
2023 is when it
Was
came
okay,
out.
yeah, yeah.
Which I
I mean,
think
what?
2023 was last year.
Yeah,
It's what they tell me.
yeah. I mean, what I love about Cloak is like the new album. It kind of had a more black metal kind of a bit more Watain or whatever. And the one before that, the one you mentioned, that was kind of like tribulation-y.
Yes.
Um, and I mean, Tribulation are one of my favorites. Watain, one of my favorites. So it's like perfect. This song's great as well.
Yeah, and because this gets back into this kind of, we're bright and we're shimmery and we're out of
Yeah.
the muck that we've gone through.
I like the contrast between this part here and then the verse comes in and it's like light and stuff, and then the verse comes in all weird, like all urgent and noisy kind of sounding. Um,
And the lyrics in this one, I've had them up. I haven't been mentioning them, but
yeah,
Charlie Manson's blue and red, gonna shoot the president dead. Give in to the voices in your head. I would be your Colt. I would be your trigger. Let me be your death lover. Like,
yeah,
oh, okay, cool.
the lyrics on this album are great. I mean, I think that was the whole thing that was cool about Beastmilk as well. They had this whole theme going on, even with the music videos they released. You know, it was like images of these like 50s clips of like 50s people dancing and stuff, and like war, old war kind of warnings, like videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I mean, I think yeah, Grave Pleasures obviously. I think they kind of got rid of that theme a little bit.
On the newest record, they had a little bit of that. High on Annihilation, that video is very much like
Yeah,
50s postcard type with like atomic backgrounds or
hmm
something like that on the
yeah,
video. But yeah, certainly they went like Society of Spectres on that
yeah,
last album is very much like Lydia Dietz from Beetlejuice, that
mm,
video.
yeah. And yeah, what was the other ones? I mean, yeah, they had I mean, the one that people don't talk about because it's the departure was a Dream Crash.
Yeah.
The first Grave Pleasures, which I think is great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's totally different. It's a bit more polished, a bit more diverse. Maybe it's like it's got some songs that are like full on kind of Misfits punk songs, and then some Beast Milk soundy songs, and then some uh like kind of drony songs. But I think it's a great album. I love Dream Crash.
That's the one that I have the least experience
Yeah,
with, just because it's like I listened to this and then Mother Blood and then the new album I
yeah,
was just rinsing all last year. But I have listened to it and I think I saved some songs in the playlist. And you're right, it very much was like, well, that's not what I was expecting, especially coming like in reverse order. But yet you're
yeah,
right, like if you listen to it not kind of expecting a second climax or
yeah,
whatever, it really settles in very well.
yeah. I think that was. I mean, I think half the band left at that point. I don't know who was in the band at that point. New guitar player and a new drummer, I believe.
Mm.
Um, and then I think the lineup changed. Yeah, the lineup changed again for Mother Blood.
You mentioned, and you may have mentioned this when you were kind of talking about it, but you talked about how, similar in the vein we were just talking about Cloak and how they're really inspired by, 80s heavy metal to write their songs and stuff like that. You talked about how this band and this album kind of really inspired you and influenced you to write songs in a different way. Do you happen to remember
Yeah.
kind of like what you were doing before that and what this album unlocked as you started to kind of like grow and really have this album settle in?
So when was this album out? Was it 2013?
I think it was 2015. Let me look. Actually, I have it up. Yes, no, it was 2013. End of 2013.
2013, and I discovered it through this that stream. So I wasn't really a songwriter then.
Okay.
At that point, the first Hellripper and came out in 2015, and my first recording with another band was 2014. Um, but it's the again, it's just like the catchiness and the structures of the song. It feels like this was like the first album where it paid attention to like pre-choruses
Mm.
because, like I mentioned before, the pre half of these songs you can't tell what the chorus is and what the pre-chorus is because they're both just as catchy and just as vital and as good as the other.
Yeah.
Um, so it was definitely in that respect. This is the best part.
I was just about to say you were talking about how the pre-choruses or like whatever, and we heard the pre-chorus that was
Yeah.
catchy as a chorus, and then it goes into a second chorus. Oh my god!
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and I think it's more recently that, especially with Warlocks and onto the next album, where
Hmm.
I tried to explore different stuff to incorporate in Hellripper's music,
Yeah.
instead of just kind of like your usual stuff, like what I was doing before. It was like taking influence from like metal and like from everywhere in metal and stuff, but like I would never really look at something as different as like Beastmilk or the Chili Peppers or Editors, like I mentioned, to kind of play a big part in Hellripper's songwriting.
Yeah.
But as I got more confident and stuff over the years and felt more felt more confident to try new stuff and experiment, and as I got better at production and doing everything like myself, it, I wanted to incorporate some influence from these bands, and some of the songs on Warlocks have a bit more atmosphere and stuff, and it's partly due to bands like Beastmilk or
Mm.
90s stuff, like Alice in Chains or Manic Street Preachers, Oasis, a lot of like Brit pop stuff actually, like with the kind of high
Interesting.
sounding guitars and stuff like for
Yeah.
atmosphere. And yeah, Beast Mode kind of, I like the kind of, there's always like some sort of wind effect as a result of like the reverb and stuff, which I really like, and I think kind of adds a fullness to the music or something.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if that's just me being weird or making stuff up, but like,
No, man. I could I fully 100% understand everything that you're
mm,
saying. Even if I was just like, oh, you could tell, or you could tell everybody that Hellripper is influenced by Britpop. Everybody go.
yeah,
But like, it is true, and I remember specifically when we were doing the stream and talking about Warlock's Grim. You were saying about how you really were pushing yourself and trying to do things that you hadn't done on previous albums and letting yourself go and take yourself out of your comfort zone. And
absolutely, yeah,
and as you can see it, I think it like really paid off because the
mm,
reception to that album was really fucking good, and you're out here touring it and keep going
yeah,
on. And I think like exactly what you were talking about then is like bringing these different sounds and trying to do stuff that you hadn't done before, takes Hellripper from a really good blackened speed metal band to a band that is just like in and of itself and sounds like nobody else and has
yeah,
all of these different things.
yeah. That's kind of the aim. Though I mean, I've got no, like no. My main thing is like writing songs, having a good song. So I mean, I don't. If a song has got one riff and like one vocal bit, like I don't care if it's good, it's
Yeah.
good. But yeah, I can't remember if we spoke about that like in the last time, but there was, I was writing some songs in a more standard punk style and kind of more Hellripper sounding stuff, like what you would associate. And it was just sounding kind of uninspired and stuff. It wasn't really clicking with me. It was kind of sounding like passable or okay. And that's when I kind of thought, yeah, I'm not enjoying this. Let's try. I might as well try and go go weird, like bring in other stuff to
Yeah.
try and keep
The
things
fucking
interesting for me as
bagpipes.
well.
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, why not try bagpipes? Why not try, having like choirs and trying a little uh like funk guitar part here in the background, like add some atmosphere here, see if it works. And like I say, a lot of that was because I could experiment with production and stuff. I had a bit more experience in what I
Sure.
was doing, and
And you knew your sound a little bit
um,
more too after,
yeah,
playing for so many years and stuff like that as well.
exactly, yeah, yeah. So I think the next album that I'm working on, it's kind of, I think it's going to follow a similar route. I've been incorporating some different stuff. Again, I've been listening to loads of metal, but loads of non-metal again. I mean, just like usual, but
Yeah.
it's weird. I'm more influenced by kind of non-metal because I know metal so well, and I write a metal song, so I'm always listening to like like say, for example, yeah, I'll listen to an Oasis song or something, and I'm always listening for like production ideas or structure ideas or something that I can put in a metal context, So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily influenced by non-metal music, and that Hellripper is going to go non-metal and acoustic and stuff completely like acoustic. It's listening to other genres of music with different techniques and different ideas of how things go. I've been listening to a lot of like kind of electronic stuff, seeing what they do, like just little, yeah, like I say, just production ideas and just how can I incorporate that into a black thrash song at 210 BPM,
I love
which
that
is
because I mean you can only learn the same. You can only learn so much by reading the same textbook over and over and over again,
yeah.
right?
I
So
mean, I
like,
know Metallica like the back of my hand, like
yeah.
so Metallica, Megadeth and stuff. I mean, I've listened to that for and paid attention to how they write songs, because I got into metal and metal songwriting and songwriting in general through that kind of stuff. And so I or studied, I mean, I listened and studied, I guess, yeah, um, how metal bands write songs, like Cannibal Corpse and Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer. Like I was learning all their songs on guitar. I spent years learning metal and guitar and stuff, and while I would listen to non-metal and stuff, I kind of neglected the playing side of that and the craft of that. It was just something to kind of listen to. But then
Hmm.
over the years, I was like, I paid more attention to how they did things, and I mean, bands like Beatles, Oasis, Guns N' Roses, they didn't sell millions of albums by being bad. They must have had something. Um,
They were doing something right
yeah.
somewhere.
So there's something to learn from there, that you can try and apply in your own way, which I think keeps it interesting for me. It adds a little bit of a challenge as well. Like
Yeah.
I'll just hear something in a song, like I'll listen to like stereophonics or something and say, oh, that's really cool, but how can will that work in a with a blast beat under it? Like,
Yeah, you're trying to find inspiration again, like, because
yeah,
obviously, like, not that you dislike, Metallica and Megadeth
hmm,
nowadays, but like, those songs inside and out. Nothing is
yeah,
going to surprise you about those songs anymore.
yeah,
So by going into something that maybe you don't even like the style of music that you're
yeah,
finding into, but you're at least going to try and, see and poke around. One of my favorite writers is Stephen King, and his
hmm,
book on writing, I'll probably mention it all the time, every few episodes, just because I think for anyone, for any type of creative venture, it's really important for. But he says great writers read, and what he means by
hmm,
that is like writers don't just try and write all their stuff and do it. They
yeah,
go and read different books and read other authors, even if it's just like
yeah,
fucking I'm reading Stephanie Meyer to see why the fuck she sold 1,000,000 copies of this book, because again,
yeah,
obviously she did something right if they're doing this. Like, why? Not that someone necessarily needs to do that, but I think that's basically the crux of what you're saying.
yeah. I'd absolutely agree. I mean, yeah, I'm always listening to music of some point, of some sort, like at all points. I go on my trip to the post office every day and to the gym and stuff like that, or whatever, and it's like a 2 hour journey of listening to, I've got like the release radar on Spotify or
Yeah.
daily mixes and stuff, try to get new stuff in, and sometimes like I'll stick on like 90s um rock playlist, 90s metal playlist or whatever, and you discover stuff. For me, especially like if I'm walking or something and I'm like kind of with headphones on, it like stuff comes out of the different speakers and
Hmm.
you can hear stuff that you weren't listening to, like that you never heard before. Like there's a song that I knew that I'd listened to a million times, and then one walk I was on, I was like, oh, there's like a xylophone on this song that I've never heard,
Isn't that crazy?
like in the background, like, and it kind of inspires me to like kind of again, it's like the atmosphere or kind of filling out the sound type of thing that I think is cool with different instruments, like or whatever, like just kind of trying to add something. And it's cool to have layers and have people discover stuff that you might not hear. And like and it's funny because I say I'm influenced by all these stuff, the Britpop and the Chili Peppers, Typo Negative, whatever, like all this non-black thrash stuff. And a lot of the time, like people, like if you were listening to the music, you might not even know because it's influenced by like structures and production ideas, backing vocal ideas, the
Hmm.
way the vocalist says something, like the way they pronounce something or a phrase or something that you couldn't really pin back to a certain band or song or something, but it's influenced me and it's in the Black Speed thing, and you'd be like, oh, this sounds like oh, this sounds like Megadeth. I'm like, oh, that was actually inspired by some 41, some
I love
like,
that.
which I think is funny, and I think it's interesting. People come up and tell me all the time. They're like, oh, this song sounds like exactly like this. Like I know this band is a huge influence on you, and I'm like, I've never heard that band before in my life,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
cool. I think it's really cool because um, people hear different things in music, and I think that's one of the cool things about music. You hear everything resonates with people in a different way. You can hear things a
Yeah.
different way. You can pick up on things in a different way. The way someone says something might appeal to you, and it might not appeal to the next person. It might be indifferent or whatever. Um, I mean, that's just a whole long way of saying I listen. It's good to listen to a lot of music and get influence from everywhere. At least for me, that's where I get inspiration and the ideas to try new things.
Yeah, and I think like A, that's important, and B, just hearing that, I'm sure it's no coincidence that that is one of the like that ethos and that mindset and that putting other stuff into your music, which is just like taking Britpop and electronica and fucking goth
Yeah,
and just filtering it through your black and thrash lens. I
yeah,
would imagine that it's no coincidence why Hellripper has more success than your average black and thrash metal band is because of
mm,
exactly those things. You're not just trying to be like, well, I want to be Bathory 2.0 or I want to be Bathory Part 2 or whatever it is,
hmm
right? You're doing something your own. And like this, I completely agree. That's one of my favorite things about music too, is the completely different experience that people can
yeah,
have with the same thing. And I think because of you reaching out into those ethers and bringing them into your lens, that is the reason why it connects with so many people more so than like a cult underground shittily produced thing, which again in itself is fine if that's what someone wants to do, and if that's what their intention is, to be like, no, I'm looking for this niche audience or whatever it is.
yeah,
And I'm not saying that you're trying to sell a million records and do
yeah,
everything like that, but you're certainly trying to do more than just like, I'm putting out my music and I don't give a fuck if anyone listens to it. Like, you want to have the communal experience with everybody and write the shit that makes you feel
yeah,
something.
yeah. I guess so. I mean, that's it, really. I mean, there is a kind of like I write stuff and don't care if anyone else likes it as long
Of
as I
course,
like
yeah.
it. But of course, I want people to like it. Like I don't go out there like hoping no one likes it. Like, oh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
write this, and I mean, yeah, I just want to write good songs. Most of all, like I say, it doesn't matter to me that if it's one riff, like a 2 minute punk song. I just released a single that's a 2 minute punk song with
Yeah,
a couple
exactly.
of riffs, or if it's like a 10 minute song. I think like for me, yeah, Opeth, or I like Opeth just as much as I like a band like Dead Kennedys or
Yeah.
something. And yeah, I think it's important to me to listen to a lot of different stuff just to keep inspired and
Well, and
um yeah.
and to your point too, I apologize cutting you off, but I mean, you
All right.
mentioned specifically as far as like, when you were writing Warlocks, it felt like you were going through the motions and you weren't inspired and
Yeah.
it didn't feel right. And I'm sure that you probably could have just like, oh, well, whatever, it's this Hellripper, this is
hmm
what the people want, or like, I'm sure people will do, and like, do your stuff, write it out. And I'm sure that Hellripper fans probably would have like really liked it. I'm sure people that
hmm
like black and thrash metal would have really liked it. But
Yeah.
who knows if it would have had the same impact because you weren't as inspired to do that. So I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like you're already doing that with getting to a point where like, oh, well, this is kind of cool, but it's not what I'm looking for
Yeah.
anymore. How can we inject more, inspiration into what I'm doing?
Yeah. I think it's funny as well because yeah, I mean that was the idea basically. It was like if I'm not happy with it, it's going to annoy me,
Yes.
even
Yeah.
if other people like it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, people, like a lot of people, you see loads of bands that are like, this is my least favorite song I ever wrote, and it's like their biggest hit. It's like it sold 1 billion copies or whatever. So I mean, you never know what's going to resonate with people. So I mean, like I can understand bands just releasing loads of stuff because some of the biggest songs ever were written in like 5-10 minutes and
Mm-hmm.
are simple songs and stuff, and they resonate with everyone. And you never know what it's going to be. Like you got loads of people that are like, "Oh yeah, this song was never going to be on the album; it was a B-side, but the record company forced us to put it on the album, and it became the songs like bands are known for.
Yeah, looking at you, come
Um,
on, feel the noise.
yeah, and so there is like that makes sense as well. But for me, I don't really have any like B-side stuff or leftover stuff. If I'm not like happy with a song, I don't want to release it.
Mm.
Um, Even if people might like it, it's it because it annoys me. Because then if people don't like it and I don't like it, it's even worse. Like no one wins.
Yeah, right.
So at least if I like it and no one else likes it, at least I'm halfway pleased, like so yeah, that's why I don't really have any like leftover stuff or whatever. If I'm not happy with something, usually I'll rework it, which is exactly what the last single was.
Mm.
That was written during the last album, the Warlocks, and it was one of those ones that it was actually going to be on the album until about 2 weeks before the album I had to submit it, and I thought there's something not right about the song. And so I shelved the song and put another one on the album. I worked on a different song that I was kind of halfway through, and then when I had the inspiration, I reworked this song, like the parts that I didn't like,
Mm.
and just and released it as a single because it doesn't fit the vibe of the next album. It's a bit
Yeah.
more straightforward and punk. Yeah, I'm very like kind of picky and stuff. I mean, there was a song on the first album that I showed to my one of my friends, and he said it was his favorite song on the first album, but I didn't like, and I've lost it now. I don't know where it is. I deleted it. I didn't like it,
Wow.
and he was like, "Why didn't you put that on?" I was like, I didn't feel it, man. Yeah, maybe it would have been um made the first album way better. I don't know.
I mean, we'll never know. Like right now,
Yeah,
it's lost to time, and only you'll know, and you can't say. But I mean, you still did what you thought you needed to do at that time, and
yeah,
maybe also it was like, no, who knows? Maybe it was like your friend was the only person in the world who really loved that song. You
exactly.
know?
Yeah, you never know. So I mean, yeah, I try and keep myself pleased, and then that seems to be a kind of good indicator so far.
Yeah. Well, certainly to bring it back around to Climax.
Yes.
So it finished while we were chatting, which don't worry, it
Hmm.
happens every single album because when you have time to fill, you just start talking and then we
Hmm.
get off the rails on that one. But Strange Attractors, longest song on the album, but also maybe one of the more atmospheric in this, which I think is
Yeah,
just an excellent way to end this album. And like I said, once we got done, I kind of wanted to just hit play again
yeah.
and restart it. So hey, final thoughts on Beastmilk's Climax.
I mean, just listening to it's the first time I listened to it in a while again, and I mean, yeah, it's just so good. Like I said, the time passed very quickly. Like I
It
said,
did. I'm gonna listen to it like almost as soon as we get off this because I've got
yeah,
some like house things that I need to do because it's just like you can't immerse yourself when you're doing two things at once. And
yeah,
for anybody who hasn't listened to this, it is a amazing album for repeated listens, whether it's just like right in a
absolutely,
row or if you like, I'm gonna listen today on a walk, I'm gonna listen to tomorrow at the gym, I'm gonna listen to it 3 weeks from
yeah,
now while I'm in the car. It's incredible.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the reason I haven't listened to it in a little while is because I listened to it so much over the years.
Yeah.
I must have listened to it hundreds and hundreds of times. Um, and then it gets to the point where you're like, I need a break.
Yep.
And then every time you listen to it again, you're like, oh, I remember why I listened to this a
You have
million
to
times.
rediscover it again every
Yeah.
once in a while.
And yeah, you're like, yeah, you're just listening to it. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about how good this part is. And yeah, something that I think works well in its favor that I didn't really think of until it ended there was the ending of Strange Attractors. It's more epic, atmospheric, it's longer. And I think if you go back right into Death Reflects Us, it works well. It works
Hmm.
well as a
It
loop just
really
on
that
the
shimmering guitar that starts
yeah.
out, it's mwah, it's perfect.
Yeah, I agree. It's a genius album, man.
Yeah, fucking Beast Milk, Climax. Go listen to it, everybody, and also go listen to Grave Pleasures. I'm sure at some point someone is going to bring one of the Grave Pleasures albums on, and I will
Yeah.
be happy to listen to it. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for hanging out and for agreeing to come on. I did have one final question that I wanted to leave us with. That maybe could potentially inspire people who are looking to get into the creative arts of their own, or have all these ideas in their head that don't know how to get them out and everything like that. And so my question, James, is Hellripper is famously a solo project. You do everything on the albums, although I know on Warlocks you brought in a second guitarist to do guest solo spots and everything like that, as well as the fact that you have touring bands and crew
Yeah.
and people and all the label people, not to mention all the the goat cult fans and everything
Of
like that
course,
out
yeah,
there.
man.
So Hellripper has very much grown into more than just like the one entity being that we see
Yeah.
on the liner notes and everything like that. But it was a one entity being when it very first started, and I know
Hmm.
that that's very challenging for a lot of people who either like are maybe too anxious or overwhelmed to write their stuff and get it out, or
Hmm.
feel like they need to work with people in order to do stuff, or feel like they need to get a band. So I'm just curious, man, how you kind of went about the idea of like, I'm gonna write my stuff and then I'm gonna release my stuff and now I'm gonna tour, and then just really go headwind with this with this one man project, as opposed to you could have at any time gotten people to bring in to do stuff, but you very much
Yeah.
want to be the not in a bad way, but the controlling and creative force
Hmm.
in this band. So I'm just curious how you navigated that over the past 10 years, from a young kid just starting out to a band to where you are now.
Yeah, I think the thing that really helped at the start was I love songwriting and I love like recording and stuff. And I had some ideas and stuff, and I didn't know anyone around me that was interested in playing this kind of stuff. And I had a lot of my influences, like bands like Midnight, Toxic Holocaust, Bathory, Whip Striker, especially in the black metal, black speed scene. A lot of them are one man bands or record DIY or whatever. There's two people or whatever. And I thought, yeah, these people, this is a thing, so you can do it. And I think the thing that helped me is I had no expectations whatsoever. I wanted to learn. So I spent a while, it took a couple of years to get to where I wanted to be in regards to learning how to record and get something at least listenable. Um, and then once I had that, I kind of just put it online
Mm.
with no expectations. I thought maybe 5, 10 people in my local scene that I speak to might like the album, might like the EP. And that was kind of all I really had planned. I didn't really plan to do an album. There was never any plans to be a live band. Um, there was no expectation whatsoever. And then yeah, more it kind of got some traction online and more people shared it like worldwide and stuff, and it kind of grew gradually, which I think is what's been very helpful, that it's been a gradual growth.
Mm.
Because if I went from, where I was 10 years ago to now in the space of a year, if it was like an album that blew up like overnight, I don't think I would have been able to navigate it or get used to everything, because there's a lot more work right now. This is my
Right.
full-time job, so
Right.
I spend like however many hours a day, like almost every waking moment is doing something related to the band, whether it's, booking shows and organizing the logistics for shows, recording, writing, answering emails, social media, the admin side, the finance side, dealing with record labels, dealing with whatever, if you're self-releasing, you might be pressing vinyls on your own, pressing CDs, tapes, answering any. I still deal with the online store, which is like, a full-time job in itself. So I'm packing orders, sending orders, ordering merch, in much bigger quantities than I was back then. And because it's been a gradual growth, and because there are, I've got other people helping me now, of course. I've got my
Hmm.
partner is heavily involved, doing loads of stuff in the logistics side and like helping, like giving second opinions on everything. And that kind of stuff helps. And obviously now I've got a label taking care of some stuff. I've
Hmm.
got, like different like booking agents and stuff like that. So there's a lot more people involved now. But if I had all of this overnight in 2015, 2016, it would have been a disaster, man. And
Yeah, I believe it.
I don't know how I would have navigated it. But I mean, I just really wanted to do it. I love music. Like I keep saying, I love music. I love an advantage I have is I love the business side of it. I'm, I've got a degree in business, so
Mm.
it's something that interests me as well. A lot of people aren't interested in the business side or the admin or the sending orders, because it's a lot of work and
Yeah, or they just get fucking overwhelmed or like have
yeah,
no idea how to even navigate
yeah,
that.
exactly. If you've got a full-time job as well, at the like it's difficult to do. I mean, I was the timing was lucky as well that Hellripper started to kind of gain traction when I was at university and I was just leaving university and I was able to kind of make a living after leaving university. So I didn't have a full-time job on top of doing the band stuff, which, a lot of people like obviously will, especially if you're just starting out and you just release your first stuff, you've got no fans and stuff at the moment. Like,
Hmm.
so the timing was good in that respect as well. But yeah, I love doing it. I think that's what you've got to prioritize above everything else. I have people asking me like I I had a message. It was like, I'm thinking of starting a band. How can I get signed to Peaceville? I'm like, well,
So, yeah.
like, I'm like, first you got to start a band, man.
Yeah.
Write some songs. You got to want it for the right reasons. If you want to be a millionaire and be best friends with James Hetfield, it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna pan out that way
Yeah,
for you.
not
So
exactly the right genre of music to be explored that.
exactly, yeah. So I think you just got to want to do it. And I always say, learn to do as much stuff as you can by yourself, um, in order to kind of save money and time and stuff. If you're a good artist, you can do your own t-shirt designs or whatever. I mean, that's a difficult skill in itself, but
Hmm.
obviously there's a lot of musicians that are amazing at like uh, illustrations and stuff like that. And if you can do that, you're saving a lot of money there that you can invest into whatever studio time. If you can record by yourself, you're going to save money on studio time that you can invest into artwork or pressing merch or whatever. If one of you are good at social media or whatever, that's time saved. You don't need to learn how to do ads or whatever. I'd try and learn to do as much stuff as you can by yourself, but also at the same time, don't be afraid to outsource if you're not good, because there's a lot of people that want to do everything themselves, but they don't have the skill. Like I can't draw, I can't do merch designs or cover art.
Hmm.
I I could do it myself, but it would be horrible. So I outsource it
Stick
to
figure. I'm just thinking of the Warlocks where it was just stick figures or something like that. Just a guy next
exactly,
to a kind of horse looking
exactly.
thing. Oh my god.
So yeah, I outsource that to people that know what they're doing, So you've got to kind of find the balance, like do what you can, but don't be afraid to get other people involved if it's 'cause I mean, yeah, running things solo is not for everyone as well.
Yeah.
It's just like being in a band is not for me. Being
Hmm.
solo is not for other people. A lot of people like to write with other people, jam with other people, have other opinions from people and stuff like that, which is, very valid, just as valid as any other way of doing things. It's just I prefer doing it this way,
Sure.
and I discovered that I like doing it this way. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I answered any questions
No,
there. I
you
just kind of
absolutely.
went on a
It
rant
was
there.
yeah. I mean, there was no right answer because it was just about
Yeah,
like how you navigated doing that, which is basically like you did the thing, and that's basically
yeah,
what it boils down to. As far as you had a creative project that you were passionate about, you
hmm
wanted to do the thing, and you had no expectations and didn't care, and you weren't
yeah,
trying to do something to set yourself. Because I also feel like that. done this plenty of times with, having anxiety or like, creative paralysis or anything like
Mm.
that. We're just like, well, why would I do this? Why would I finish this song if I don't think it's going to be the best thing in the world?
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
people are going to,
yeah,
and like, but like, that's my
absolutely.
cross to bear. And that's what's kept me from being creative throughout my
Hmm.
life. But like, that's just one of those things that you have to know. And you knew what you wanted and you said, I'm going to fucking do it. And who cares? And look where it got you. You weren't planning to do it, but then you were ready to do it when all of that shit comes. No, you absolutely answered the
Yeah,
question.
and exactly, just in kind of relating to what you said there, like, I mean, I never intended to play live ever because I've got like horrible like stage fright and stuff,
Mm,
like, I mean, it's gotten better over the years now. I mean, we're playing almost 100 shows this year, and
yeah.
I mean, that I would never have thought that, I used to refuse to play guitar in front of people. I would,
Wow.
um, I would never do anything, like, I would never play. I never dreamed of like playing a live show. I mean, I wanted to,
Mm,
but I would never, it wasn't really a thing. I kind of thought it's a bit too scary, but it ended up happening. There was a demand there, and I thought, yeah, let's just, I mean, it's easier said than done, like, I was like, right, I need to do it. Let's just do it.
yeah.
And if it feels horrible, it feels horrible. You've got to kind of get over the stage fright. You've got to go on and see what happens, But then, yeah, over the years, I've learned how to kind of deal with it. I mean, I still get nervous before shows and stuff,
Of course.
and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, before it would be like paralyzing. I would be like, this is the worst thing ever. Whereas now it's more like it'll probably be a fun show. And I mean, the style of music kind of lends itself to, if something goes wrong, it's punk rock. If something goes wrong, you laugh it off, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm lucky in that respect with this style of music. If it's something a bit more technical and precise, and you've got a stage show, and maybe a bit more important that things go right. But if I break a string, or I come unplugged like my guitar, or it's just kind of like, it's happened.
And it
Let's
happens
have
to
it.
everybody, and
Yeah,
audiences have seen it before too.
yeah. I mean, it happens to me all the time.
Mm.
So yeah, you've just got to kind of deal with it, and you just kind of laugh it off. But yeah, that was just an added point. I just wanted to kind of relate there. If anyone's feels similar, like, about like going on stage or performing or whatever, yeah, just try, and if you can, like, try and do it, and eventually, or for me at least, it got easier and better and felt less bad.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And I think that that's really important, and something I've said on this show before is just like, if you love what you do, there are chances that other people will too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm very lucky for the people that support the band, and and help the band, and buy records, share the stuff on Facebook, whatever they do, like, every little helps, and I appreciate every bit of it, like, a share on Instagram is just as valid as buying the vinyl or buying a t-shirt or something,
Mm-hmm.
just spreading the word is a form of support that a lot of people, it doesn't seem like a lot to some people, like, but it's, yeah, every little bit helps, and it all adds up. And I mean, I'm just glad that people are listening to music that I make in this room, and
Yeah.
and that me shouting about goats constantly resonates with people.
It definitely does. Shout out to the goat cult, and shout out to you, James, because I mean, certainly it isn't just luck. While that is certainly a part of it, because you have to get luck if you want to make it in the music business, or have your music listen to people or anything like that. But certainly, as we've discovered through this conversation, a lot of hard work, a lot of
Yeah,
passion, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and all of that. And I'm super stoked to have seen you on this journey so far, because I think the first record I heard was Affair of the Poisons,
hmm,
which was still this like fucking like super underground,
yeah,
crusty shit. And now look at where you are, man, just a few years
yeah.
later, and continue to go. And I'm so happy for you, man. And I'm
Thank you,
so, yeah,
man.
yeah, congrats, dude.
Thank you so much, man. I mean, it's people like yourself as well, like, bringing me on to your shows and having an interest in the bullshit that I'm saying and stuff. So it's,
Yeah, well,
I
and you
mean,
didn't
yeah,
have to come on, so we always appreciate that
yeah.
as well, man.
Nah, man, it's been fun talking to you again. Nice to see you after,
Likewise.
yeah, like I say, almost 2 years now, which is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
seriously. I'm sure we banter around on IG every once in a while,
Mm,
but hopefully I can get down to Texas to see you at
yeah,
Hell's
man.
Heroes because that's about like I think the closest that Hellripper may be coming for the next little bit. But before we go, so Hell's Heroes, I believe. March time, springtime, the rest
March
of the
sometime,
year,
yeah.
yeah, the rest of the year, 2024 and going into 2025. Anything that you want to shout out for people to be keeping an eye out for or anything like that?
Yeah, so like I say, I just released a single like last week or something. You can hear that wherever, Spotify and all that. We're doing a whole bunch of like festivals and shows throughout Europe mainly. For the next year or so, we've got Hell's Heroes. We're doing a few dates with Sodom in Germany.
Fuck yeah.
That'll be cool. Obviously, Sodom are a big inspiration, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got loads of stuff coming in 2025 on the live front. I'm working on a new album currently. We've just signed to a new label, which will be announced at some point when it makes sense. But I
Hmm.
hope to have an album out late next year, and then hopefully for US people, we'll definitely be in the US with the new album. So the sooner I manage to finish the new album, the sooner I'll manage to get over to the US on an actual tour
Hell yeah.
and
There are a
see
lot of good
everyone.
goats in the US that are just
Yeah,
willing to be infiltrated, you know?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I can see from my statistics and stuff on Spotify that there's enough people there that it's noticeable, I think. And yeah, definitely be over in the US with the new album whenever I finish the new album. And yeah, I hope to see everyone there. If you're in Europe, or you can see a list of shows. We're announcing shows like all the time recently. We're playing loads more. We're playing more than I ever thought.
Yeah. I've noticed that this year. I've been like, holy shit, they're going for it, man. Which makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. I mean, yeah. We're. It's cool that people are interested. I mean, yeah. Up until this year, I think the average was like 10 shows a year over the last like 10 years,
And you
and
just
this year
like
we've
10
done like
times that. That's crazy.
yeah, we're on like 90 or so 80 or 90 or something, I think, this year. So I mean, it's cool. I mean, I'm privileged that people are interested, like I say, and check the band out online. I'm updating stuff all the time, and hopefully we're near we're near you, and you can come see us.
Do it, everybody.
Yeah,
I'll have all of the info in the details and everything like that. Go support local music. Go support national music. Go support Hellripper wherever you see them. And yeah, man, I will see you in 2026 or 2025, whenever it makes sense
absolutely, Matt.
for Hellripper to come through. And James, once again, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for coming on my stupid little show and listening to Beastmilk with me. It's been fantastic, dude.
That's been fun, man. Thank you so much, and thank you to anyone listening.
That was top lad James McBain listening to Beastmilk and telling you everything you need to know about starting a band. On the flip side, of course, the other best advice that I've ever heard about starting a band is to just not do it. Just don't do it at all. Save yourself the headaches and pursue something a bit more noble, like lawyerism or venture capitalism. Start a band if it's what you really want. Y'all just follow that passion. Just know that you're probably almost assuredly going to follow into poverty and be miserable, but you'll have an amazing time being miserable. Hellripper currently has 3 albums for you to explore, including the most recent Warlocks Grim and Withered Hags, which I think may be their finest outing to date. Don't forget to check out the latest single from Hellripper, Fork Tongue Messiah, that James mentioned in the interview. There's also a cover of a Red Hot Chili Peppers song for good measure on there, and be on the lookout for new Hellripper down the road in the coming months. All right, well, that's all that I've got for this episode, y'all. Hey, if you have any comments or thoughts on Beastmilk, on Grave Pleasures, on Hellripper, or anything else that we chinwagged about today, send an email to spinningthewax@gmail.com. I will read some of my favorite stories and such on episodes in the future. Also, give us a follow on Spinning the Wax on all socials, and go support us on Patreon or buy me a coffee if you like this and want to keep hearing more of these episodes. It helps keeps the light on over here as we're an independent venture at present time. But hey, if you can't do that, I totally understand. Word of mouth is massively huge right now. Any way you could spread that word, whether it's a share, a like, or just sending this to your friends who really love metal. I appreciate you all so much, and we will see you next time when Sammy Irwin from Employed to Serve listens to Yes. Until then, everybody, see you on the other side. Stay safe, stay sane, stay heavy, stay puffed.